Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach, and to my colleagues as well. I have a meeting at 10. Minister, and not delay the House, I hope that there's not an underspend on the capital side of your department's budget at this particular time. If there is, I would like to see a reallocation of funding for the non-national road network. Our regional and county roads need more investment. Thankfully, there's an increasing population in rural Ireland. So if there is funding available, I would sincerely hope it would be devoted to the non-national road network programme. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
In response to the query, the total capital allocated to the Department of Transport and Investment this year is €2.547 billion. As at the end of August 2022, 926.116 million in capital was profiled expenditure and €707 million was issued, the variance being €219,110,000. In addition of 155 million of unspent capital carried over from last year, of which €151,238,000 was issued. I'll briefly summarise the expenditure profile for each programme. In Programme A in Sustainable Mobility, Active Travel and Greenways, expenditure is €86.572 million compared to profile of €62.856 million, or 38% ahead of profile. In Programme B, Sustainable Mobility, Carbon Reduction and Public Transport, taking EV and EV infrastructure grants first, expenditure is €50.425 million compared to profile of €63 million, or 12% behind profile. For heavy rail and public transport investment, expenditure is €165.856 million compared to profile of €271.148 million, or 38.9% behind profile. In Programme C, Road Safety and Road Networks, expenditure is €402 million compared to a profile of €526 million, or 24% behind profile. In Programme D, Civil Aviation, expenditure is on profile with no expenditure scheduled to take place prior to Q4. And Programme E, Maritime Transport and Safety, expenditure is €1.311 million compared to a profile of €1.64 million, or 20% behind profile. For subheads with underspends, the reasons for variations between expenditure and profile are as follows. In the grants and infrastructure, the LEV grants provide funding towards several electric vehicle purchase grants which are demand-led. In general, demand was lower than expected at this point of the year due to global supply chain issues impacting on the availability and delivery of new vehicles into the Irish market. The drawdown of funding for infrastructure has also been impacted by global supply chains. In addition, the launch of a scheme for apartment charging has been delayed and was launched with Zero Emissions Vehicles Ireland, ZEVI, on the 21st of July. In heavy rail safety and development, the underspend is predominantly due to a reduction in spend on the DART Plus fee because of a renegotiation of the timing of milestone payments, with significant down payment made to Alstom in December last year, originally scheduled for this year. There's also a reduction in expenditure on new intercity rail cars due to an updated delivery schedule of 2023 for the majority of rail cars. In the public transport infrastructure, the underspend is predominantly due to a reduction in spend on ticketing, technology and integration, support and the bus programme. In the case of Bus Connects Dublin, there have been delays in delivery of new fleet. In the construction and development of national roads, some of the underspend is related to the timing of payments in relation to a significant project delay as Road Bridge Limited went into receivership in March, leading to the N5 Ballardreen to Scromode project being suspended. Lastly, in regional roads, expenditure to end of August on projection and renewal of regional and local roads was close to profile, while expenditure on road improvement projects was behind profile. The shortfall in expenditure for road improvement projects is due largely to the impact of the road bridge receivership on the Cúna to Killashin Distributor Road. The rest of the set, I want to try to read out. But one thing I would make the point to the Deputy, those underspends at this present time will be clawed back. We will not have an underspend, a significant underspend at the end of the year. There are a number of additional rail and public transport projects which we expect to deliver and spend on in this year, which will mean that those underspends will not actually accrue at the end of the year.
Thank you, that Concord, and I thank the Minister for his detailed reply. You obviously negotiated very well in your estimates campaign last year, Minister. There's a very substantial spend there under each heading, and I sincerely hope that you would have an increased level of funding for the region, for the region and local roads, the non-national road network for the coming year. As we know, as I mentioned earlier, thankfully there's a growth in population in rural areas. My own county that's very rural, that has very little national national road because of our border situation, and that we are very heavily dependent on the non-national road network for the siting of people's homes and also for the siting of enterprise and business. So there's a lot of heavy traffic. We need to ensure that the roads that are up to a reasonable standard at the moment, that there's investment in those to protect the investment that was made over the years. And there are also many roads in both counties that are crying out for investment and upgrading. And Minister, in this day and age, people are entitled to a proper standard of road to their home and to their place of work. And I would urge you, Minister, that if there is any leeway in any of the subheads, that you consider allocating to local authorities who have the capacity to spend more money before the end of this year, and to also ensure that there's an increased level of funding for 2023. Thank you, Alaskan Gorla.
Thank you, Deputy. I absolutely agree with you. I think the key investment, one of the key investments we need to make is the protection and renewal of existing assets. If you let a road go, as you know, it costs far more to bring it back in terms of, when you get structural damage with potholes and so on, so you're far better to invest now in maintaining the road surface, maintaining the network, maintaining the drains, and that actually saves you money in the long run. So we do have to make sure that that is protected, and it has been in recent budgets. The reality is we have so many different asks, as we heard earlier here, particularly in the likes of new services, Connecting Ireland, new rail services, and we do have a real significant shift still to make. We are heading as a government towards a ratio of 2-to-1 expenditure on public transport to roads. We're not anywhere near that yet. And so the significant increases in transport spending to come are going to be in the public transport side to make sure we have the options that give, as we heard here, Deputy Tobin, Deputy O'Rourke and others saying we have got critical public transport projects that have to get funding. Any underspend that we have this year is going to be used to invest in some of those rail and other solutions that would give us the capacity we need to also help the roads by taking some of the, that 2-hour traffic that it took Deputy Tobin to get in this morning. The solution to that is investing in public transport to help those who are on the roads, who have to be on the roads. Thank you.
Thank you, Alaskan Gorla. Minister, again, a project that I discussed with you previously was the proposed east-west route. It's the route from Sligo to Dundalk via Fermanagh, Cavan, Monaghan. Parts of that road have been upgraded. It carries a huge volume of heavy traffic. It's a very important artery in the border region in the northern half of our country, and I sincerely hope that dedicated funding can be provided in 2023 to ensure the further planning, upgrading and the commencement of some works along that route is particularly important for towns like Cootill, Shercock, Carrick, Macross, on to Dundalk in my own constituency. Thank you, Alaskan Gorla.
And I mean, the proposal or the prioritising roads obviously is something that TII have a central role in. It does all work in this entire capital budget. There's not too much negotiation when it comes with Minister McGrath on the capital side, because there the figures are set out in the National Development Plan and the approach to take in kind of investment priorities within that set out also in the National Development Plan. But we do have to take into account local specifics and areas, particularly where there's a lot of heavy haulage traffic and urban town villages, kind of getting that as true traffic is areas where we do have a specific problem, which I think is some of the characteristics of the route you mentioned there.